All right. Hello again, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this virtual farm field trip. We are live today at Tilla-Bay Farms in Tillamook, Oregon. My name is Gracie, and I am the Oregon Dairy Princess Ambassador. I'll be the moderator today. Before we start our tour, I want to go over a few logistics to make sure that all of us have an outstanding experience. We've muted everyone, and everyone will remain muted throughout the tour so that everyone can hear the tour guide very clearly. If you have any questions, you can send them to us using the chat feature, and we will go ahead and be able to ask as many questions as possible. It's now my pleasure to introduce our host and tour guide for today's virtual farm field trip, Mr. Kurt Mazet.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today. Glad to have you at my farm. My name is Kurt. I am a fourth generation dairyman. So here that means that my great grandfather started this farm, and we've been farming it for more than 100 years now on this exact same place. And we milk 180 cows here. They're Holsteins, the black and white ones. And what makes us a little bit different from a lot of the farms in this state, especially, is that we do a lot of things with robots here. So we're a small family farm, which means we don't have a ton of people working here. And so we're using technology to do some of the things that someone else would have to do, and a lot of that happens through the middle of the night and everything else. So we're going to start today in our feed kitchen. So the cows are going to eat around 18,000 pounds of feed a day on this farm, and that's just the milk cows. But we have put some technology in the last couple of years that allows the cows to basically be fed 24 hours a day and get 15 fresh meals every single day. So this system is called a vector, and it consists of a grabber, which is going to grab all of the different feed types that we put into the computer, and then it's going to take it down and drop it in a mixer down on this end. And if you think of it like a giant blender that can hold 1,500 pounds of cow food, that's how it all works. So we've got different feed types in here right now. It's taking a load of grass silage, which is fermented grass that we made here on the farm, and it mixes that with corn silage, which is fermented corn, the whole plant chopped up, and then we've got a few other things that we throw in, like some hay and that sort of thing. And it's very accurate. There's a person that's called a nutritionist that tells us exactly what the cows need to eat every day to perform their best and to be the most healthy. And so this machine can make that perfect mix every time, all day long, all night long, so that we can care for our cows the best as possible and not have to live here 24 hours a day. So there's about 30 to 40 of these systems in the United States. There's about 400 worldwide. There's only 2 of them in Oregon, and they're both here in Tillamook. So so this will go on. It takes about 30 minutes to mix a load for the cows. Measures how much in front of the cows, so it for all of that. So and we're going to go walk around now, and we'll go see where the cows are eating. So he has a quick question. We've got a second.
Yeah, absolutely. How much manure do the cows produce?
per cow or per day? It's we're looking at several thousand gallons of manure a day. On this farm, we have a tank that we store the manure in, and it's about 500,000 gallons. And so we'll store that for months at a time until the fields are grass that we feed the cows year round. So it's a process of feeding the cows and then using that manure to make feed for the cows. So we have enough acreage here that we can use all of the manure generated on this farm just to grow feed. So so if we look, this is where the robot's going out to feed. The floors are actually a plastic lined so that it's a nice surface for the cows to eat off of. It stays very clean, and it allows us to make the best use of the feed that we have here on the farm. So you can see there's pieces of corn in there, and some soybean and some canola are mixed in this as well. So it's really a complete meal with every single bite is the goal. She wants some.
Mr. Mazet, another question while we're here with the cows is that how long can a cow live?
Yeah. So most cows are going to be in the herd 5 to 6 years. Cows can definitely live longer than that, but it's a matter of how long they're productive for and that sort of thing. So I don't know what the record is for the oldest. The oldest cow we have on this farm is 15 years old. So she's been making milk for about 13 years. It takes 2 years to get a cow to the point where she can actually make milk. So I guess that's the answer for this farm. So the other things you'll see in this barn is each one of these cows, there's more than one bed for every cow in this barn. So the cows can wander through this whole barn, which is several acres, and they can pick a bed and they can pick where they want to eat. And the beds have dry sawdust on top of them, and then the mattresses that they're laying on, that the sawdust is on top of, is actually ground rubber, and then there's a memory foam bed, really comfortable, and they really like to lay on them when the camp is good enough. There's about 120 acres of pasture for about 16 hours out of the day, and then they'll come in here for the rest of that time and eat the rest of this feed so that they get their vitamins and minerals and all the things they need to complement that grass. So but they use the barn year round, but this time of year they're exclusively in the barn because it rains so much here that they like to have a warm, dry place to be too. So we get almost 10 feet of rain here in Tillamook a year, and so we try and do what's best for them that way.
Sorry that we're experiencing some technical difficulties. Kurt, we're actually going to ask you to go out and come back in the meeting and see if that will maybe help your bandwidth. It's just a little bit low, but in the meantime, Gracie can answer some of the questions that we're asking. So Kurt, if you want to just log out and then we'll log back in and see if that fixes the bandwidth.
Yeah, and while we're waiting for Mr. Mazet to log off and then log back on, there's a couple questions on here that I would love to answer. How much milk do you get every day? That kind of varies from farm to farm, but a good average is that every cow makes about 65 pounds of milk every single day. So we're talking right around 7 to 8 gallons that a single cow is producing every day. And so that's really impressive when you think about it. Another question from Zion Lutheran Christian says, do robots sense where the piles of food are in some way? And yes, they do. Actually, these robots have a certain route that they follow. And if there is something in the way, I don't know if you saw, but Mr. Mazet has a dog that's super sweet and fun and loves the farm life. If that dog is in the way of the robot, it will stop, it will turn around, and it won't proceed on its route. The same thing is true if it senses a pile of feed, if it senses a cow, any sort of thing that is prohibiting it or limiting it from continuing on its designated route will stop the robot. So it's very safe in that manner. How much can the cows weigh from Mrs. McGalthrey? Cows weigh between 1,500 and 2,000 pounds. Since Mr. Mazet is raising Holsteins, the black and white cows, which are known to be one of the larger of the dairy breeds, those cows a lot of times will be closer to the 2,000 pound range, while sometimes Jerseys, which are the smaller brown cows, will be closer to 1,500, even maybe down to about 1,100, so 1,100 pounds.
Okay, it looks like we've got Farmer Kurt back now.
Okay. Was there any questions that needed assistance, or you got them all, Gracie?
One more question. I think you touched on it earlier, but how many cows do you have on your farm?
Yeah, so there's 180 milking, and then with all the calves and young cows and all that, there's about 400. So so we're gonna head on down this way and to the end of the barn here.
While you're walking,
yep,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, how can you make sure that your cows stay healthy?
Sure. So well, that kind of leads to where we're headed. So in addition to feeding the cows with robots, we also milk the cows with robots. So each one of these cows has a neck collar on, and you can see where it says well, you can sort of see, she'll turn her head. It says 151, that's her number. And then there's a little box above that, and that's an activity and rumination collar. So that collar is doing a few different things. It knows how many steps she's taking in a day. It has a microphone in it, so when she's chewing her feed, there's a popping noise that happens behind the cow's ear, and it's listening for that. So we essentially know how many chomps per hour that cow is getting. And then it also identifies her when she goes to get milked. So those chomps per hours and the number of steps that the cows are taking are just a piece of what we can learn from the technology on this farm. So with all of the equipment that we've got running, and we're getting 127 different pieces of information on every cow every day. So we know if she's not eating as much as she should, if she's not moving as much as she should, if her milk production drops. All of those sorts of things tell us that a cow is maybe not feeling well, or needs some attention in some manner. Maybe she's gonna have a baby. It can tell us that. So we use all of that technology to help us figure out which cows need attention and which cows can just go be cows today and do whatever they want in the barn here or out in the pasture. So so we're going to walk in here with the cows, and we're going to look at a robotic milker and how it milks the cows, and watch that a little bit. So
while we're heading over to that way, a great question as we're going to a robot is, do your machines ever malfunction?
Yeah, we actually had this conversation as we were setting up today. So if the machines aren't working quite right, there's a call out. So it'll call my cell phone first, and then it will call the other people that work here and let us know that there's a problem. So when they do, usually it's something we try to fix ourselves. We're pretty good at fixing stuff. Most farmers are. But if not, then there's a technician that we can call to come and fix it. So We're having some camera problems.
Mr. Mazet, another question. How long can a cow produce milk for?
Her entire life, she's capable of producing milk, but you know, an animal gives milk to feed a baby, so it needs to have a calf on a regular basis in order to keep producing milk, and we need those calves so that we can keep having cows. Most of our cows, you know, we try and have that production last for a little less than a year, and then she gets a 2-month break, and then she has her next baby and she starts producing again. So it's an ongoing cycle, and for us, about every 12.5 months she's going to have a baby and start producing again. So if we look over here, this cow, number 66 here, she's getting a snack. There's some brushes that are working on cleaning her udder off, and those brushes have a sanitizing solution on them, and so it's keeping her clean and ready to start milking. So she's just going to eat exactly what she needs, and just kind of chill out here. It takes about 7 minutes to milk a cow on our farm, and okay, sorry, there's this is Ash. She's my oldest daughter, one of her leftover show cows from when she was in 4-H, and she likes to play. So anyway, you can see while that was all going on, the robot arm went ahead and hooked up to the cow. So there's a laser in there that reads where her udder is, and it knows how to attach. So the robot actually remembers the last 30 times that this cow milked, and so it knows basically the layout of her udder and how to attach quickly. These milking robots are a little over 10 years old, and they were the first ones to get put in the Western US. So all of our robots together, we have 3 of these, have milked almost 2 million milkings in that time. So and that's a lot of milkings. But the other thing is, this technology has to be strong enough so that if a cow kicks it, you know, it can recover from that and keep doing its job. It's wet all the time, so it's pretty strong and durable equipment. And really, we've only got about an hour of free time on each machine every day to do any repairs or cleaning. So they basically run 24/7, and have done that for a good 10 years now. So while this cow's in here, we're gonna learn what the temperature of the milk is, what the fat and protein level is, so that we know how much cheese it will make or ice cream, how much milk the cow is giving, anything that would make it where we don't want to drink it or eat it. And so then once this cow's done milking, it will decide whether that milk is good for people or not. If it's not, it will dump it down the drain, because we don't ship any milk that's not good enough for people to eat. So again, there's a lot of data being gathered while she's milking, and we can use all of that for a variety of purposes. So questions about the milking system?
A couple questions regarding kind of milk is, how many calves can a cow have in her lifetime?
Well, it takes 9 months for a calf to grow inside the cow. So then it's just a matter of of how long the cow lives. And it, it takes about, let's say, 2 months for the cow to be ready to be pregnant again. So, if you figured one a year, that would be kind of a safe number. So, but again, she's not going to have that first one until she's about 2 years old.
Does your milk go to the Telemach cheese factory?
Yes. So we've shipped milk to the Telemach cheese factory for basically the 100 years that we've been milking cows. So, and so all of that good ice cream and cheese that you can buy at the store is made with our milk. So.
That's awesome. Did you design or build the robots that you're using?
So these robots are actually they're actually built in Iowa now. It's a Dutch company, so the technology is from Holland. So we did some installation and building around the robots, but the robots themselves are built in a factory.
Lovely. Do the robots hurt the cows?
No. So you can see right here behind the robot, there's 3 or 4 cows waiting to go in, and they actually fight to go in the robot. So they really like it. It's all voluntary. They just walk in there on their own 24 hours a day. So, okay, we're gonna head to the next thing, I think. Keep asking questions.
Okay, just one more quick question regarding the robot. Have you always had robots milk the cows, or do you sometimes milk them by hand?
So we used to have to put a machine on the cows to milk them before we had robots. But I think we haven't hand milked any cows on this farm since my great grandfather.
Wow. Miss Ferguson's class said, what happens to cows when they get sick?
So in terms of what we do with the data that we have, our first line of defense is to find cows that might not be feeling well, and we treat them with minerals and vitamins and probiotics as a first line of defense. If that doesn't work and we have to actually put them on medicine, then they stay with the herd, but we put into the computer that cow has been treated with medicine, and then the robot knows that milk has to go down the drain until that cow has cleared all of that medicine and there's no chance of any residue in the milk. So she gets to stay with her friends unless she's really sick. And then this area that we're going to right now is our hospital pen. So we can put her in this pen right here, and she can have a nice big spot to lay down and get all of the special treatment, sort of like a hospital room. So also in the hospital area here on the far side, there's these are where the mamas go that are just about to have calves. So this one here, 32 on the end, she's close to having her first baby. She's expected to calve tomorrow. And then 171 here, she just had a baby about 2 hours ago. So she's going to get milked here pretty soon for the first time, and we'll make sure that her calf's off and ready to go and feeling good and all those sorts of things. So so we're actually walking to our calf area. So the moms that have had a baby have the baby here, and then we'll take them and move them to a pen, and they'll get bottle fed for 8 days. My wife's actually the calf feeder, and so she comes and makes bottles for those calves, and they get fed twice a day. And within the first 8 days, well, really within the first 3 days, we'll have those calves eating or drinking a gallon of milk twice a day out of a bottle. And then from that point, once they're at 8 days, we'll move them into these pens, which is a group pen. And so they'll get to hang out in this pen with all these other calves, and then there's another robot that comes into play. So if hi Huck, get down there, buddy. So if we go over here, there's these stations, and the calves can come to this station, and there's a nipple there, and that calf can go to that nipple, and it has an ear tag that's radio frequency tag, and the reader will read that tag, and it will know which calf comes in, and it will know how much she gets to eat, and then it will custom blend for that calf the amount of milk she needs. So these calves, when they're in here on the system, can come in and drink milk 24 hours a day, just like if they were with the cow in the field. And so the calves do better if they can eat more times a day, and so this allows us to do that, again, with not having to be here. So we're feeding the cows 24 hours a day. We don't have to be here to milk, feed them in the middle of the night, milking them 24 hours a day. We don't have to be here to milk them in the middle of the night. Same thing with the calves. And what that does is it allows the calves to eat 4+ gallons of milk in a day, which would make them sick if you tried to feed them that much all at once. But we know if we can spread that out over the day, they can just come and keep eating and grow. And so it's really been a really neat thing for the calves, and to see how fast they can grow when they're able to eat like that. So
All right, Mr. Mazet, I have one quick question. Do you brand your cows?
We do not. So we don't brand the cows. What we have, those tags that I was talking about with the radio frequency, they each have an individual number that is not repeated anywhere in the United States. And so that tag will stay with them their whole life. And if there's ever a reason that we need to figure out who that calf is, or try and recover that calf from somewhere, you can actually scan that tag and know exactly where that calf is supposed to be, in terms of what farm it belongs to. So
Great. And then what's your favorite thing about being a dairy farmer?
So favorite thing about being a dairy farmer is that I get to be on this farm with these cows, and to see all the the great things that we're doing for them and the progress made. But it's also the same farm that my family has been on for 100 years. So I get to do the same thing that my great grandfather did, and my grandfather and my father, and I get to be here with my son, and do the same thing that generations have done before. But it's the best part of the day is at about 4 o'clock in the morning when there's no one else here and it's just quiet and it's just cows, and it's just a really great life.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your knowledge and taking time out of your very busy schedule to be with all of us today. So we appreciate you. And students, thank you so much for sharing your afternoon with all of us and for asking some great questions. But with that, I hope you all have